Hello everyone and welcome to day 29 of our online Facebook yoga practice. Today is day 3 of our Kundalini Tantra session. We are focusing on Swadisthana Chakra, which is the base of the spine. As I begin to prepare our class, come into a comfortably seated position in either Vajrasana or Virasana. So whether the knees are together and you're sitting on your heels, or whether the knees are out, the feet are out, and you are sitting in between. This is the ideal position. We want to be giving a little bit of a tilt in the lower spine, in the coccyx, in that very base of the tailbone. Of course, that might not be comfortable for many of us. So sit on a pillow or a block or anything that's going to lift you up and make yourself comfortable there. Keep your block, your strap nearby. And start to come into your natural breath. Close your eyes, open your mind, deepen your breath, soften your body. Anything happening outside of this room, leave it outside of this room. Focusing on your breath as you inhale deeply through the nose, into the diaphragm, into the belly. And as you exhale also through the nose, extending your exhalation to be twice as long. Gradually find your natural breath and then deepen your breath, beginning to focus on the balloon in your belly, expanding downward to the pelvic floor, outward to the belly button, to the sides, up to the top, or the base of all of the lower ribs and internal organs. Keep breathing and feel that wave moving through the body. If the wave does not naturally find itself coming up, wait for it. Don't force it. Follow, and when you hit that point where you're able to feel the expansion in the sternum, in the diaphragm, then you can start to inhale a little bit more deeply, focusing on the expansion of the rib cage. So keeping that first inhale from the belly. And really let the breath drop. We are focusing on the base of the spine in our practice today. If at any time you're uncomfortable, use your block, use the wall, use something to make sure your knees, particularly as we find this first seated introductory breathing position, can be challenging on anyone who has knee issues. Come up, or even you can put a bit of a block or strap, block or towel behind the knee to give a little bit of a padding and not putting so much tension on it. Feeling that wave now ascending into the chest, the throat, the thoracic, the clavicular, the facial regions, and lifting higher into the crown of the head, and keep that breath flowing throughout the practice. Beginning to bring in the Ujjayi breathing technique, which is a contraction of the glottis. Imagine as though you're fogging a glass or a window with your mouth closed. Sounds like this, keeping the balloon and that rhythm of the wave moving through your belly. Forcefully begin to move the breath as though you're pumping the oxygen through. Use that diaphragm as the muscle that it is. And when you're ready, we're going to come into a Vajrasana. So keeping our knees bent, but bringing them in just slightly so that the knees are touching. The tips of the toes are touching, and feel that easing up a little bit on the knees. Feel the blood circulation returning with flow, highly oxygenated flow into the lower limbs. And let's begin by uniting the body with the breath. So on your next exhale, releasing the hands from the knees, inhaling, arms up, shoulders down, eyes of the elbows open, tips of the fingers, all the fingers reaching Shoulder blades melting down, particularly as the arms come up. We don't want to scrunch. Keep everything lowering down. Touch the tips of the fingers. Change the directions of the palm and lower slower. Every breath takes a little bit more time. Associate all of your movements with your breath as the tips of the fingers touch. Inhaling, palms facing upward, lifting, lengthening, opening the eyes of the elbows, dripping, dropping the shoulder blades down the spine, touching tips of the fingers. And exhale, slowing the body, slowing the mind, following the rhythmic law. The anatomy, everything else will start to slow down. The definition of the word yog in Sanskrit means union. Union of body and mind, union of a host of other objects, but starting with those two primary things that we can have some sort of tangible connection to in our current earthly realms. On your next inhale, let's come up just halfway, arms up, shoulders down. Staying here for a moment, feeling the effects of gravity, but really enjoying the openness in the elbows, really enjoying dropping the shoulders, lengthening through the bicep, feeling the entire shoulder blades dropping. Feel the weight of that part of the body. Tapping into our midline, that center, and really feeling grounded in our body. On your next inhale, starting to feel the weight in the arms. Inhale, left fingertips up to the outside of the right temple and gently pulling the right side open, right hand, palm coming down. And again, lowering the tips of the fingers down to the ground. Either tips of the fingers touching or planting the palm. We're up a little bit high on the knees here, so you can also use a block or a book or a brick or something to help with that lengthening. And once you find your space, inhale and exhale, chin into the chest, nodding a few times, really feeling the stretching. And inhale, what we do to one side, we always do to the opposite side, promoting symmetry in the body, finding the sweet spots with the fingertips on the outside, planting the opposite palm and nodding down, chin into the chest. Breathing very deeply, the balloon in your diaphragm getting bigger with every breath. And again, inhaling, arms out to side. Again, with the left arm, we're going to bend it in, just touching on the outside of our right chin. Again, the right arm is going to come down, and we're going to bring that chin down towards our armpit. And inhaling up. And same thing on the opposite side. Breathing deeply while you're in the stretch. Inhaling, arms up, palms facing the sky. Bending both elbows, interlacing the fingers behind the head. Bring the elbows together. Remember this position. We're going to find this at the end as well. And exhale, only folding the cervical spine down. So just those top 7 small, teeny tiny, little, very flexible vertebrae. Let them come down. Chin is in the chest. Shoulders are planted down. Feeling the breath moving through the body, opening into any places and spaces that you may find as the breath deepens. When you're ready, inhaling, cervical spine lifting, vertebrae by vertebrae. Last thing to come up is the head, the neck, the chin. Opening the elbows, lengthening the arms out, and exhale, bringing the hands down. Let's place the fingers just behind us. And we're going to do a counter pose. So inhaling, lift. Really push your hips up. And if you want to walk the hands forward a little bit as well, you're welcome. And exhale down. We'll do that a couple more times. Feel the blood moving. Inhaling up. Remember, inhale as we lift. Don't hold the breath. Take a deep breath here. Shoulders are down. Whenever we're holding the palms in, we want to be focusing on that first knuckle. That's where our balancing point is and our grounding point. Exhaling down. We're going to do that one more time, and this time we're going to try and kind of push ourselves up a little bit higher. So inhaling up. And if you're comfortable here, of course, stay. Otherwise, let's try and walk a little bit up and find the backs of our heels, thumbs on the inside of the heel. And we're in a full camel position here. Ustranasana. And you can rock slightly forward. Now I realize that if you're not in this position, you may say, what are my alternatives here? Well, as I said, you can stay down in that first lift. Here you're getting a nice quad stretch, trying to also focus on the lower back and keep the chin tucked into the chest at all times. So you're also getting that deep, several different areas of the spine stretching out. Okay, wonderful. Now let's come back into a tabletop position here. And we're going to do a few counter positions. So as we were just in that deeper position, wherever you may find yourself, let's inhaling up, arms all the way, and exhaling forward, just trying to touch the fingertips down. Okay, so again, and if you're sitting down, same thing. So inhaling up and exhale, coming down. And you can round now, starting from the cervical spine and a little bit into the higher thoracic. And then again, lifting up and down. Okay. Pushing the hips forward if we're in a half camel. Or if you're sitting, again, you can lift yourself up as much that you are comfortable, trying to make the femurs aligned and keeping the knees nice and padded. If you do need some additional soft stuff there, please go ahead and do so. One more, and as we exhale down, fingertips touching, and let's walk those fingers forward just a little bit into a nice cat type of position. So a rounded table or a high cat. We're going to come into a little bit of a movement here, the Marjarasana. So again, lining up that first knuckle, making sure that first knuckle takes the weight, and then the wrist, elbow, shoulder, nice line, making sure as well the hips and the knees make a nice line so that our back is nice and flat. Breathing deeply for a moment here. And when you're ready, just going to put a little bit of movement into that before we come into our cat-cow. So shifting the weight a little bit forward and then a little bit back. Keep that palms of the hand really pushing into the ground, especially that first knuckle again coming forward. And this time you could try to go down a little bit lower, and you might even end up in a cobra type position. If you do, lead from your head. So chin comes down, rounding the spine. The last thing that comes up is your hips, your tailbone, your coccyx, and even you can come down a little bit lower into a child's position. And if you are here, the last thing that comes up is your head. So this time starting from the lower back, mid-back, thoracic spine, into the clavicular area, cervical spine, and inhale, lifting. Head is the last thing up. And exhale, head is the first thing. Chin into the chest, push into the hands. Follow your breath here a few times. As far as you comfortably feel, you can go back and forth. And this is basically, of course, the extended cat-cow. So if you don't feel comfortable today going all the way, just stay moving in this cat-cow position of inhaling up and exhaling.
Now let's come into a child's position just for a moment. We won't stay here for too long. A little bit of a stretch. The knees should be separated. The belly should be in between the thighs. Arms are reaching forward as much as they can. Do a little bit of a shoulder stretch here. So starting with the left hand, let's lift it and walk it over just one step. One palm's width approximately over, and let the head hang down. We'll hold here for just one deep breath. And opposite side. So lifting the opposite arm and one step or one palm's walk. And exhale, dropping the head down. Finding that little crux that you are creating with your biceps. And inhaling back up. Now let's do the same thing, but 2 steps. Exhale, step 1, and a little bit more, step 2. And coming into a bit of a twist, focusing on the obliques here, breathing nice and deeply. We'll take one more deep breath here. And exhale, let's take those 2 steps back to center and opposite side. So crossing that arm over, and then one more step. Twisting and twisting with everything you've got, every vertebrae, every bone, every muscle. On your next exhale, coming back to center. And when you're ready, inhaling, lift, nice round back, up again into a high table or a cat position. And let's find our regular tabletop position here. So in our regular tabletop, we'll come into some movement, into some balancing positions. So when you're ready, let's start with the left leg, lengthening, pointing the toes. If this is where you are feeling comfortable today, please stay here. Otherwise, introducing the opposite arm, the palms facing inward, and everything squeezing inward. So as though the midline of your body is accepting all of the force. And when you're ready, let's move. Exhale, knee to the nose, elbow to the rib, and follow that rounded spine extension up and lengthening forward. Eyes of the elbows and knees should be opening and popping with every lengthen. Breathing here 3 or 4 times. And when you are ready, we'll come into a balance. So inhaling, lengthen, bending the knee, reaching back and clasping onto the foot. Keep that weight in the first knuckle of the standing front hand. Use your eyes to balance. And when you're ready, keep the leg up, lengthen, drop the hand. Same foot, same hand. So you may need to adjust the lower leg a little bit to create a little bit more of a firm base. And breathe here, pushing out to the side again, opening the hips. Shoulders always down, away from the ears. And when you're ready, let's drop both leg and arm. So it should be your left arm, left leg, drop it down. Lifting your right arm. So we're in a twisted side gate. And I'll turn just for demonstration. Again, your focus is on the outside of the edge of your straight standing leg. That is where the weight is. That is where your tension lies. And exhale down, switching hands. Inhaling up. And now let's lift that foot so the toes are also pointing up. Starting to open the back of that straight balancing leg. And when you're ready, inhale, bring the hand down and lowering the head just slightly, 1 or 2 breaths here. And when you're ready, inhale, opposite arm up. Now, primarily here, we want to keep the hips squared, the shoulders moving forward. So if you feel you're touching the foot, but you're down here rounded, let it go. Let your arms slide up, even let it come up all the way. Find where you are straight, because this is the preparation for our Trikonasana, which we will do today, or triangle pose. So find where you're straight, and then just slide down. When you start to feel your body going forward, that's your edge. Stay there. Keep the toes moving towards your head and grasping on anywhere you feel comfortable. Holding here for just another breath. And when you're ready, let's drop both hands forward, stepping forward with that left leg and coming into a front lunge. So, Asana, making sure you have 90 degrees in this front leg. This is going to be our first yin hold. We'll hold it for 2 minutes, so get mentally prepared and physically comfortable. If you need some padding under your knee, that's fine. If you need a block under your arms or just to hold yourself up, that's fine. If you'd like a deeper challenge, stay in a back bend with your arms up. You're still getting the deep hip opener. You're still getting a nice opening in your Muladhara as well as your Swadisthana chakra. And we're going to hold this from this moment for 2 minutes. I'm going to come down a little bit today. Rounding down a very long season. And when we focus on Muladhara, we focus on Swadhisthana, it is easy, as I just demonstrated, to fall back into Muladhara. In fact, Swadhisthana means the home or the seat, the original home. And in yoga tradition, they say that the Kundalini, the special energy of all humans, used to live, used to reside, used to be found and stored in the Swadhisthana chakra, but something happened and it fell. There was a descent, there was the fall. And of course, that is something that is familiar to many of the monotheistic religions, that there was an idea that there was the great fall from grace. That's 1 minute here, ladies and gentlemen. So those similar types of stories and mythologies are replicated in many of the origin stories. As I've said many times, yoga is not religious. It predates any type of the monotheistic religions, even Buddhism, by several hundred, if not thousands of years. And Patanjali was the first to put all of these together in what we know today as yoga. But even still, Patanjali, however you intonate his name, or her name for that matter, it had been in existence. The practices, the beliefs, the systems had been in existence even long before then. Let's take one more breath here. And when you're ready, we're just going to move it back. So shifting the weight and holding for another 2 minutes. So feel that circulatory system move, lifting the toes up, lengthening the whole back of the leg, and again, focusing on the midline of the body. We ought to have 90 degrees in the back leg and probably about 45 or so. Look at your body if you have any sort of reflective capacity, or use a wall if you don't have a teacher or anyone else near you. We can find the geometry in our bodies that will help us to get into these poses. The bones are designed to do exactly what we're doing. And these poses, again, yes, scientific proof towards all of their anatomical and physiological benefits. But again, they have come from such ancient practices that to not incorporate them would be losing a lot of wisdom.
That's 1 minute here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hold it for another minute longer. In any forward bend, we know the breath is in the back body. Let the head hang down. Let the bones do the work. Let the bones and the gravity hold you up. And let the muscles relax. Start to differentiate between those systems and start to just feel the difference between the bones, the muscles, the tendons, the arteries, the veins. Start to identify aspects of both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems as the first step. First is observing before we can get into the controlling stages. When you're ready, we're going to shift out of this position. So bending the knee, bringing that leg back and back down to a tabletop position. And just take a moment to feel the difference in the body. Feel the difference from one side to the opposite side. And we're prepared to do the same thing. So if you need, let the body fall or rock side to side. Let the hips move. You can let the shoulders roll around. Nobody can see you. You can all see me, but nobody can see you. So just do whatever your body kind of feels it needs to do. And again, find that geometry or that just natural type of movement within the body. Listen to your body. Become an observer of the sensations in the body. And when you're ready, let's line up our table. Do the same thing on the opposite side. So all the joints lined up, all of the fingers spread, knuckle takes the weight. When you're ready, let's now lengthen the right leg. And if you feel comfortable, the left arm, or whichever you did not do the first time. Let's move, knee to the nose. Follow your breath. Inhale as we lift. And exhale as we close. 3 or 4 times in the same way. And on your next inhale, let's find our balance. So lengthening, bending the foot, reaching back and holding the front. And lifting here, keeping the weight on the first knuckle and breathing deeply. Use your eyes for balance as we release, keeping the leg up and open the side body. And again, push the hips forward, open the shoulders, relax the legs, relax. All of the muscles, the bones are doing the work. And exhale, let's drop both the hand and the foot. So if the right foot is down, left arm comes up. And where is your mind? It's on the outside of your right foot. I'll turn so you can see me. Pushing the hand with that first knuckle, shoulders down. And exhale, switching hands. Lengthening up, feeling that full twist of the body. And breathing. This twisting is digestive. It's like the corkscrew, like an ice auger, whichever your analogy, or the two go together so nicely. On your next exhale, let's drop down and lifting these toes as we now really open the back body, back of the leg.
And when you're ready, inhale coming up and let the arm lengthen up until you find your edge, and then float back down, keeping that openness, keeping the heel up, moving away from you, foot and toes lengthening, lifting, toes moving towards you, looking up past that first finger, or past any of the fingers, particularly that middle finger. It gets a little bit longer out. Focus the gaze just on the space, a millimeter or two off the skin, and just your attention on it should cause a little bit of a pulsation. Energy goes where your attention flows. And on your next exhale, let's drop both hands down, stepping forward with this leg and coming into a lunge. So front lunge, you are walking your feet forward and then finding 90 degrees with the leg. And again, come into your different varieties here. If you do want a bit more of a challenging position, and you're even welcome to come up onto one leg. We will be coming up into a few standing positions in a moment, so if you're really eager for it, there's your warning. And of course, in any of those positions, if you'd like to stay down or in a position where you're balancing on the knee, of course, we will offer those alternatives as well. We are going to stay here for another 2 minutes from this moment. So get comfortable. This is a classic yin position, a hip opener, hips and shoulders. That's the target. That's the culprit. That's where we need to go. Forward bending is a traditional submission posture. Again, I know I'm always referring to our monotheistic religious practices, but all three of them, and Buddhism, Hinduism as well, Confucianism, they all have their different praying practices, and they all move in this forward bending prostration, some more than others. Even, of course, some of the indigenous practices. This is an innate, inherent movement done by humans as an homage, of course, and as that submission. And as I've said, this is not a religious practice, but let's face it, folks, unless you can do all of what you see around you, we've got some other things going on here, whatever you want to call it. That's just over a minute. You should start to feel the hyaluronic acid being released, feel the phase change in the body, feel the body melting, feel the fascia opening. And if you don't, scan your consciousness through the body and find, where are you holding on? Swadisthana chakra is, according to yoga tradition, it is the home of all of our karma, both of this life and other lives, should you believe in that, or should you have any manifestation of that. So it's a heavy place to be, and often, as we said in the last practice, it is quite easy to get out of Muladhara. Muladhara is very buoyant and ready to move with the breathing practices, with the focus practices. But it often gets blocked by Swadhisthana. Swadhisthana is stubborn and very difficult to open. When you're ready, let's shift the weight back, walk the hands, lengthen the leg, lift the toes. We're going to hold this again for 2 minutes. So finding a 90-degree angle, lengthening the foot, adjusting yourself as you need, and then exhale, bringing the knee towards the nose towards the knee, still in our passive submission, forward bending. Let the neck relax, a lot of tension crawling up the neck. Pushing the shoulders down helps to give a natural release to some of that tension that starts to work its way up into the base of the skull. and kind of just interferes with, just the way we hold ourselves, our whole presence, our whole posture. Focusing on the midline, squeezing everything in, making sure you're not hanging out to the side. And again, bringing your awareness into the Swadisthana Chakra at the base of your spine. Curl your tailbone down. Really feel the cervical spine at the top, as well as the coccyx and the lower parts of that more dense bones in your spine, your hips, your pelvis. Try to just feel everything curling in, and take your last breath here. And when you're ready, release, shifting the weight, bringing the foot back forward, and again, letting the hips fall side to side, up and down if they need to. We're going to come into a child's position here, which we will hold again for 2 minutes. So take a nice wide stance, finding your Bhadrasana. Bhadrasana is where we have the toes, tips of the toes touching, knees out as far as possible, and just start to walk down. If this does not happen easily, put a pillow under your belly, block under your chest. You can have something under your forehead as well. Already getting into this takes a few seconds, so let's hold for 2 minutes from this point. Allow your forehead to press onto the ground. Focusing on the shoulders, melting down the spine. And again, feel that curling of the very base of the spine, as well as the very top. The Swadhisthana also has a very strong connection to the Bindu, and the Bindu, as we've discussed, is that point in the back of the head where the little tuft, the Hare Krishnas have that little tuft of hair. It is a very strong point, which we will continue to talk about. But activating the Swadhisthana in the lower base of the spine will have an effect on that higher region as well. Swadhisthana is getting higher up the chain of command, if you will. Still responsible for a lot of very emotional, powerful things. If you feel yourself stuck, if you can't get out of a habit or anger, emotion, or smoking, or sex, or something that you're just absolutely hung up on, there may be some issues in your Swadhisthana chakra. Now, obviously, these are yoga traditions, ought not be completely relied on without further supplementation. But whatever you are practicing, Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern, without the actual practice, of course, nothing is going to work. So this is a good place to start because it is available 24/7. On your next breath, we're going to come out of this position and slowly walking the hands back. Let the head hang down, chin into the chest until the very last moment. Walk the hands into the base of the body, lifting vertebrae by vertebrae, rolling the shoulders back. And the last thing to come up is the head, the neck, and give yourself just a little bit of a balance. Shoulders maybe need a bit of a roll. We're going to come up into a downward dog and a few standing positions. Now, we have been doing more yin style meditative postures. As you can see today, we are doing some yin, but also some flow. And as we get higher into the chakras and deeper into the spring and summer, we probably will start to be working on some more flow, such as this. So when you're ready, let's go back to a tabletop position. Again, lining up your joints, lining up the fingers, opening them. And we really want to focus on the upper body primarily. So curl the toes under, keep the knees bent, and push the arms into the ground. Just do that a few times. Keep the knees bent. Now, if you're not lined up, you're going to feel it there. So again, check your hands. Make sure the first knuckle is pointing into the ground. And feel here, we can move that elbow and the whole upper arm, lower arm, that whole arm. There's a lot of moving parts. Play with it. Put the elbows forward and then put them elbows facing each other. Where do you feel there's more power? Okay, now for most of us, they'll be facing each other. We get more power and we start to line up, but you may have some different anomalies. So just listen to your body, start to play with that. Shoulders are down as always, lengthening the spine. And now as we lift, we want to keep the chin tucked into the chest, keep the hands pushing in, almost as though we're going to jump off of something. So again, we're getting the shoulder stretch, arm stretch, lengthening of the spine. If you feel ready, let's slowly start to lengthen the feet, lengthen the legs, and press the heels onto the ground if that is available. If it's not available, keep the knees bent. Keep the belly on the thigh. It's absolutely fine. Once you're here, let's walk the legs just a little bit. Just a little bit. And we won't stay up too long, but for a few minutes, just to start getting some of that balancing posture. So let's take the left leg, lift it, and bending, big step between the hands and find warrior one. So dropping the back foot down at a 45-degree angle inside of the instep of the back foot should be aligned with the back heel of the front. Hips are facing forward, 90 degrees in your front leg. Shoulders down, inhaling, arms up. This is warrior one. Pushing into the insides of your feet. Imagine you're standing on an orb, giving you power. Shoulders down. When you're ready, into warrior two. Legs remain exactly the same, only the upper body shifts. Palms face downward, shoulders down, reaching out. Torso faces the side and open. One breath here and then reverse. Let the right hand touch the back leg. Let the left arm reach up. Feel the stretch in the whole side body. And inhale, open. Straighten the leg. And we're going to come into Trikonasana. So reaching forward. Imagine we're either against the wall or between two panes of glass. So again, we can't let the elbow lean. We need to stay nice and straight, focusing on the midline, and exhale down. So here, find where you are straight. Your hand could be on the thigh, the knee, could even be just kind of hanging around up around your waist. Wherever it is, slowly start to let yourself come down. You can use a block here, of course. Putting a block down is going to be a tremendous relieving of that temptation to go forward. You still get all the effects, and of course you can go a little bit deeper with every breath you take. On your next exhale, let's drop that upper arm down, twisting the back foot to point forward, stepping up about 6 to 8 inches so the feet are about 2 feet apart, both hands on the ground, let the head hang. We're in a pyramid position here, really deep breathing if you can, and always keep your blocks nearby, because if this isn't comfortable, give yourself a little bit of a prop. To be uncomfortable in yoga completely defeats its purpose. We'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So to get there, let's walk through, opening the feet here a little bit wider. So let's stay in the middle while we're here for a moment and just do a little stretch. Keep the toes pointing inward, palms and hands start to walk forward, shoulders down, just as though we're in a child's position. And exhale, pushing into the hands and pushing back in your hips. So those two different forces in the body, arms going forward, hips going back, and while your legs also digging in there as well, aren't they? And keep walking those hands back. Try to bring the head to the ground. 90 degrees in the elbows. And when you're ready, one breath. Straightening the arms, bringing them up and out to the side. One breath, and exhale, hands to the outside of the knee. And again, let them slide down to where you find your edge. And then pulling yourself in and down, chin tucked into the chest. And exhale. Let's now bend the knees. Bring the hands to the inside of your mat. Fingers pointing away from you. So, pointing up towards your head. And let's just try and kind of find a seat. Okay? So you're going to bend your knees, bend your elbows. Just hang there for a minute. Can you find where you could potentially start to sit? So again, coming up, and if you can't yet, bring your block and then just come and find and come and sit on your block. Okay, otherwise, have a pillow there that can maybe be a little bit better. Otherwise, what we're going to try and do is just walk the feet in and just let the toes kind of come together. Let the head hang down. Stretching out the shoulders, stretching out the hips. And when you're ready, let yourself come all the way down and open the legs and come into Paschimottanasana with a nice wide stance. If you need to lift the hips, please do. Otherwise, inhaling up, arms down, shoulders down, and exhale. Again, find your edge and then slide your arms forward. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes. We're going to do 3 minutes forward, then 3 minutes back before we come into our Shavasana. Finding stillness, time along your edge. That is the key to opening the fascia. And opening the fascia is the key to becoming the superhero version of yourself. Remind yourself you have a balloon in your belly with every breath, the balloon becoming bigger, making the body softer. That's 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hold for 2 more minutes. Adjusting yourself. By now you feel the phase change. Just take a seat of the observer and breathe. Feel that chemical reaction in the body. I remind you, yoga is not an observer sport. You should be doing this and feeling the benefits for your sake, not mine. That is 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Taking 1 minute more and just starting to slow down. Starting to slow down. And all else being equal, following the rhythmic laws of nature, everything else will also start to slow down. And little Yodi is helping us with her snoring, which is so relaxing, like an ocean wave.
And taking your next few and last breath here. When you're ready, releasing the hands and start to walk them back, vertebrae by vertebrae. Chin stays down, tucked into the chest, until you come up nice and tall, lifting. Last thing up is your head. And let's bring the hands up into a cactus type of arm, bending them in. Just the thumbs right under that occipital lobe and just pressing. Little massage and a bit of a lift. Bit of a back bend and getting your block. Waking your puppy. We're going to come into a back bend with a block. So since we've had our legs in a nice wide straddle, I would recommend we bring them into a butterfly konasana position. So soles of the feet together. Try to bring your groin as close as you can towards your heels. Wherever your hands comfortably rest behind your body is where you should start to line up the block. And then slowly, gradually finding your position where you are getting a nice meaty balance. No pain. No pain, no pain, no good. No, if you have pain, please stop. Okay, so finding an area. And once you do, inhale, lifting your arms, checking its positioning. Exhale, bending the elbows into that cactus arm type position. You should be able to really pinch the block between your shoulder blades. That alone is a beautiful massage. And when you're ready, come back. Now you can hold, of course, another block at the top to hold your head up. Otherwise, we're going to hold this for 3 minutes. Feeling vulnerable in the front of the body, but feeling safe. This is probably the most important position we can do. I regret not doing it more throughout my day. In fact, if anyone's an ingenious type of ergonomic engineer out there, if you made a chair like this or a desk like this and we could be at our computer like this, remember me when you become a millionaire, please. Or I should say a billionaire is what we need these days. Breathing deeply. That is coming up on 1 minute. Starting to scan through the body, finding any place of tension or tightness, be it physical or mental, and release. Positive or negative, good or bad, whatever you may be feeling, hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, let it go. Let the body return to its original state of health, wellness, and productivity without needing to digest and filter everything you put in it. The body has other things to do. Let them be done. Eat to survive, not as a habit or a hobby. That is coming up on 2 minutes here, ladies and gentlemen. And not only eating, of course, any abuse of our systems. We want to be able to alleviate the habits, the damage, and prevent further monstrosities from potentially coming into the body. Breathing deeply through every pore, imagining osmosis is what introduces oxygen into the body. Breathing very deeply into the balloon in your belly. Feel the expansion of the ribs and feel how that arching of the back
starts to counteract all of that forward bending that we've been doing, sitting at computers. Taking your last breath here, bring the arms out to a T-shaped position. Bring the arms into cactus, so bent at the elbows, and inhale, interlace the fingers behind the head. Careful with the neck here, bringing the elbows together just as we did in the beginning, and inhale, chin into the chest, and finally again, stretching out the cervical spine. Feeling the pressure in the thoracic. Feeling the deep bend in the lumbar and feeling the grounding in the coccyx. Breathing very deeply. And when you are ready, gently starting to come up. Removing the block or towel or whatever you may have been using. And as a bit of a counter pose, let's bring the knees in, hands hang on, and let the body just melt down into that basket type position. And then just let it rock. Let it rock. Or let it balance. Or whatever happens. And just kind of let that natural flotation and descent happen, and most likely you'll realign yourself just by allowing that to flow naturally. Once you've done a few, come down onto the ground, lifting the legs, start to do a few little circles. We're not going to spend too much time here, just getting a little bit of pressure on the lower back, circling in the opposite direction. Feeling the blood returning to the core of the body, giving the legs a little bit of a kick. And bending the knees very gently, flattening the legs, lengthening the body, closing your eyes. And coming into Shavasana. Shavasana means corpse pose. If you feel an extreme arch in the lower back, bend your knees or put something under them. It is natural to have a little bit, but do be mindful you don't exaggerate it during Shavasana. Feeling the balloon in your belly, relaxing every molecule. If you would like to stay in this position, feel free to do so now. As we begin to come out, very gently begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, allowing the head to turn to the left and to the right. Inhaling, arms up, interlacing the hands, fingers, leaning to the left, and stretching to the right. Back to center. Inhale, legs into the chest, wrapping the arms and hands around the knees and leaning to the left, slowly to the right, or finding stillness or rocking or whatever you may feel is appropriate for you at this time. You may just want to also bring the legs down and really try to press the base of the Swadisthana Chakra into the ground. When you are ready, allow the legs to fall to the right-hand side, coming into a fetal position. Take a moment to remember those who brought you to where you are. Take a moment to send your energy to those who are suffering. Allow a smile to come across the face. Reminding yourself the effects of the practice will continue long after we leave the mat. And when you are ready, very gently and only when you are ready in your own time, coming up to a comfortably seated position.
allowing body a few moments to feel the effects of the practice, allowing the hands to be either facing down or upwards, whether you are professing or seeking knowledge. And as is traditional to close the practice, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Atma Namaste. Thank you very much for your time, your energy, your support, your feedback, your comments, as always. And I remind you, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the emotions, you are the light, you are the breath, you are the eternal.